What if I told you that a single vendor driving barely 7% of a business's total web traffic was somehow responsible for over 20% of their actual sales calls?
I mean, on paper, that just sounds like a math error.
Right. It sounds completely impossible. But welcome to today's deep dive.
Okay.
Because today we're looking at a freshly compiled analytics dashboard from a Nevada Chevrolet dealership that, honestly, it proves raw web traffic is officially just a vanity metric.
Yeah, a massive vanity metric.
And for you listening, what makes this data set so incredibly valuable is the timeline. We aren't looking at some, historical theory from 5 years ago. This is a 1.5 year period stretching from April 1st, 2025, right up to yesterday, July 14th, 2026.
Literally yesterday.
Exactly. So this is a live look at how the internet is behaving right now.
It really is just a fascinating window into modern consumer behavior because at first glance, the sources we're working from today are fairly standard, right? We've got Google Analytics exports, event tracking sheets, and screenshots of Google search results.
Pretty standard digital marketing stuff.
Right. But when you synthesize this data, this really clear narrative emerges. It's about how a seemingly smaller vendor essentially hijacked this dealership's highest value interactions.
And they did it by entirely bypassing traditional search mechanics, which is wild.
Exactly. They just skipped the old playbook entirely.
So to understand how they did that, we have to look at the baseline traffic first. Over this 18-month period, the Nevada Chevy dealership had 846,639 total sessions on their website.
Which is huge.
Yeah, that is a massive amount of digital foot traffic for a single local business. And when you look at the breakdown of where that traffic came from, you see the expected giants at the top, right? You got direct traffic, Google Organic, Meta.
The usual suspects.
Exactly. But sitting at number 4 on the list is this vendor called Dealer Leads, and they brought in 58,216 sessions.
Which out of nearly 850,000 total sessions, that represents just 6.88% of the dealership's overall traffic.
It's barely a blip.
Right. In a lot of traditional marketing meetings, a channel driving less than 7% of the volume, that might just get pushed to the bottom of the agenda. The instinct is always to look at the biggest numbers first.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I think the best way to think about this is like throwing a giant party.
Okay, I like this.
So you buy this massive billboard on the highway, right? And it brings 1,000 people to your party. But
Yeah.
they walk in, look around, grab a free drink, and immediately leave. High volume, high bounce rate.
Right, they're not really there for the party.
Exactly. But then you send out a highly targeted invitation, and it brings 50 people who actually stay, mingle, and help you clean up at the end of the night. That's high engagement.
That's a great analogy.
But if I'm a business owner looking at this dashboard,
Yeah.
I'll push back a little here.
Yeah.
Why should I care about a vendor bringing in less than 7% of my overall traffic when Google and Meta are bringing in hundreds of thousands of people?
Well, what's fascinating here is what happens in the very next column of the data set. It fundamentally changes how you view that 6.88%.
The engagement column.
Right, because out of those 58,000 sessions, Dealer Leads drove 42,104 specifically categorized engaged sessions.
Wow.
And the average engagement time for those users was 1 minute and 26 seconds.
That's incredible.
That time on site metric is basically the pivot point of this entire case study. In our current landscape of just total information overload, 1 minute and 26 seconds is an eternity.
It really is. Just to put that into perspective, using the dealership's own data, right? The traffic coming from Instagram during this exact same period had an average engagement time of 4 seconds.
4 seconds.
4 seconds. That is barely enough time for the homepage hero image to load. It implies users are just bouncing before they even read a headline.
Exactly. Social media traffic is often, passive or even accidental.
The accidental click. We've all done it.
Oh, absolutely. A user clicks a link out of mild curiosity, realizes they've been taken out of their feed, and instantly hits the back button.
Yep.
I mean, even the traffic from Facebook only averaged about 14 seconds, so it's highly distracted traffic. But a user spending nearly 90 seconds on a dealership website, they're in a completely different psychological state.
They're actually doing something.
Right. They are actively scrolling through inventory. They're, comparing trim levels on a Silverado, analyzing pricing, maybe reading the warranty information. That level of sustained attention is arguably the most expensive commodity on the internet today.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. If they're staying for 1.5 minutes, They aren't just casually browsing the About Us page.
Not at all.
They must be taking action. So does the data show what they are actually clicking on during those 86 seconds?
It does. And this is where the Google Analytics Events tab completely flips the narrative of that initial traffic volume dashboard.
Because despite only having that tiny slice at 6.88% of the total traffic, dealer leads is the #1 vendor across multiple crucial event categories.
#1.
Yeah, we're talking about the specific actions that directly lead to revenue. It's the difference between window shoppers and people walking through the door with their credit cards already out.
Right, let's look at the breakdown. Because you've got the low friction actions and the high friction actions.
Let's start with low friction. So we have CTA interactions. These are users clicking buttons like check availability or get e-price.
Pretty easy things to click.
Exactly. Dealer leads drove over 59,500 of those events. That captures nearly 17% of the dealership's total.
Which is already outperforming their traffic share by a lot.
Huge margin. And then there's the click-to-call metric. They drove 977 phone calls.
Yeah.
That is a staggering 20.37% of the total calls generated from the website.
A fifth of all phone calls coming from less than 7% of the traffic. I mean, it just demonstrates incredible efficiency.
But the contrast becomes even more stark when you look at the heavy friction events.
Right, the stuff that actually requires work from the user.
Yeah, because clicking a button to reveal a price is relatively easy. But then you have form engagement, where they drove 2,381 events. That's nearly 9.5% of the total.
Filling out a form is a big step.
It is. But the real standout for me is the digital retail conversions. The data shows 709 events tied to the digital retail process. That's over 10% of the total. And I have to push back a little here, too.
Go for it.
I just have a hard time buying that a small traffic slice naturally produces that much heavy lifting. Because clicking check availability is one thing, but 709 retail process conversions.
That's a lot of paperwork.
Right. That means people are actually putting in their financing details, they're calculating trade-in values, they're starting the actual legal paperwork to buy a car online.
Yeah.
Are these users just, I don't know, naturally more willing to fill out forms? Or is there a specific structural reason this traffic source is driving such high-friction actions?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, there is absolutely a structural reason. It comes down to intent isolation.
Intent isolation.
Okay. This vendor isn't casting a wide net hoping to catch a few buyers among a sea of casual browsers. They are setting a highly sophisticated trap at the absolute bottom of the funnel.
So they're catching the people who are already decided.
Exactly. By the time these users arrive on the dealership's website, they've already made the decision to purchase. They know the specific make, they know the model, and likely their exact budget.
So the high-friction stuff doesn't scare them off.
Right. The digital retail process doesn't intimidate them because they arrived on the site with the explicit goal of transacting right then and there.
So these aren't your top-of-funnel browsers searching for, like, Best Trucks 2026 or just reading generic reviews.
No, they're way past that stage.
Dealer Leads is successfully isolating that absolute bottom-of-funnel intent. But that begs the obvious question, right? So what does this all mean for how they're actually getting this traffic?
How do you filter out all the window shoppers before they even reach the website?
Exactly. With such a comparatively small stream of traffic, how are they doing that?
To answer that, we have to transition away from the analytics dashboard for a second. We need to look closely at the screenshots of Google search results that are included in the case study.
Because the analytics show us what is happening, but the search screenshots show us how it's happening.
Yes. We are witnessing a massive shift from traditional keyword strategy to an entirely AI-driven web environment.
The screenshots are really revealing here. There are queries for Chevy dealer SEO and Chevy website SEO.
Yeah.
And what immediately stands out is that Dealer Leads isn't just, ranking as a traditional blue link on the page.
No, they're doing something much bigger.
They are completely dominating Google's AI overviews.
Yeah.
And for you listening, just to clarify, the AI overview is that large generative text box that now appears at the very top of Google search results.
Right. The AI is essentially synthesizing an answer to the user's question directly on the search page.
And it is explicitly citing Dealer Leads as the source of its information.
They're featured right there in the source carousel inside the AI box.
Yep.
And if you scroll past the AI generation, Dealer Leads also holds the top organic spots immediately below it.
It's total coverage.
It is, and this raises an important question, because this isn't just about visibility anymore. It's about a fundamental shift in how trust is established online. We are looking at the power of implied authority.
Implied authority. I love that term. It's like, okay, it's like the difference between a librarian pointing you toward an aisle that has, 10 different books on a subject
Okay.
versus the librarian handing you one specific book and saying, I have read all of them. This is the only one you need.
That is the perfect analogy, because when a user looks at a traditional page of 10 blue links, they still have to do the cognitive work of evaluating which link to trust.
Right. They have to read the meta descriptions, look at the URLs.
Exactly. They might click the top result, but they enter the site with a degree of skepticism. But when an AI overview explicitly cites a source to directly answer a question, the AI is lending its massive inherent credibility to that source.
It's like the ultimate endorsement,
Yes. The AI is essentially telling the user, I have processed the entire internet, and this is the most factual, authoritative answer available.
which instantly removes the friction of trust.
Hmm.
If the AI validates the vendor, the user doesn't question it.
And that completely explains the 1 minute and 26-second engagement time.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The users are arriving pre-trusting the site because the AI already vouched for it.
But wait, how do you actually become that one book the librarian hands out? I mean, SEO has been a marketing buzzword for decades. Everyone knows how to stuff keywords onto a web page.
Right, the old tricks.
Yeah. So is optimizing for a 2026 AI engine really that mechanically different from what businesses were doing like 5 or 10 years ago?
It is a completely different architecture. Yeah. Traditional SEO was largely about tricking a crawler. You would identify a highly searched keyword phrase, you'd sprinkle it into your headers, build some backlinks, and just hope the search engine recognized the pattern.
Right, the whole Nevada Chevy dealer 50 times on a page strategy.
Exactly. But an AI, a large language model, doesn't just count keywords. It looks for entities, it looks for relationships, and structured facts.
Ah, okay.
So to get cited by an AI overview, a vendor like Dealer Leads has to structure their data in a way that directly answers complex queries.
So instead of just repeating words, they're feeding the AI-specific relational data.
Precisely. They're likely using advanced schema markup and structuring their content in a highly specific Q&A format, a format that the AI can easily digest and confidently repeat.
So it's about making it easy for the machine to understand.
Yes. If an AI is asked about local Chevrolet inventory, it isn't going to pull from some generic blog post. It's going to pull from a data source that clearly categorizes its inventory, specifies real-time availability, and explicitly answers the logistical questions a buyer might have.
So Dealer Leads is clearly optimizing for the machine's comprehension, not just a keyword string.
Exactly. They aren't trying to rank on a page. They're actively training the LLM to view them as the definitive factual source for that local market.
And that structural difference becomes even more apparent in the final screenshot provided in the dataset.
Oh, the voice search one.
Yeah, it's a search query for voice search SEO for dealers.
That specific query is the linchpin that connects this advanced AI strategy back to the real-world analytics we started with.
Because on this query, Dealer Leads absolutely blankets the page. I mean, they are in the AI overview, they are in the sponsored AI results, and they hold the top organic spot with an asset called their Complete Guide to AI.
They've built an entire infrastructure around dominating voice search.
Right, and why does that matter so much?
Well, if you think about the physical context of voice search, it immediately illuminates those 977 click-to-call events we saw earlier.
Oh, right, the 20% of all phone calls.
Exactly. Consider when and how consumers actually use voice search. You rarely sit at a desktop computer with a full keyboard and, dictate a complex query to your monitor.
No, I only do it when my hands are full.
Right. Voice search is inherently tied to mobile devices and hands-free environments.
You use voice search when you're driving.
Exactly. You press a button on your steering wheel, or you're holding your phone while navigating traffic, and you say, find the nearest Chevy dealership with a Silverado 1500 in transit.
Or just call a Chevy dealer near me.
Yes. The user is in motion, the query is hyperlocal, and the intent is highly urgent.
And because Dealer Leads has mechanically optimized their data for AI and voice algorithms, the AI selects their specific inventory and their dealership phone numbers to fulfill that voice prompt.
Exactly. The AI processes the complex voice command, references the structured data it already trusts because they fed it the right way, and presents the most actionable result to the driver.
And what's the most natural, seamless action for a consumer who just used their voice to find a local business while sitting in their car?
They just hit the call button on their screen.
They initiate the click-to-call event?
It perfectly closes the loop. It explains why a channel providing less than 7% of the raw traffic is generating over 20% of the actual phone calls.
Wow.
They aren't trying to capture the demographic sitting on their couch late at night, casually browsing pictures of Corvettes.
Right, the 4-second Instagram bouncers.
Exactly. They're capturing the demographics sitting in their car, actively navigating the local area, ready to drive onto a physical lot and sign finance papers today.
It is a brilliantly efficient strategy. I mean, they're completely ignoring the vanity metrics.
Let the major platforms and the traditional ad spends handle the top-of-funnel awareness.
Yeah, let the billboards and the broad social media campaigns cast the massive, expensive nets. Dealer leads just set up a highly effective AI-validated funnel right at the point of transaction.
It really forces a total reevaluation of how businesses should be spending their digital budgets right now in 2026.
Definitely.
If you are paying primarily for raw traffic volume, you are likely just subsidizing a massive amount of 4-second Instagram bounces. The real value lies in capturing intent.
And intent is increasingly being routed entirely through AI interfaces and voice assistants.
100%.
So let's bring all of this together for you listening. Because whether you are managing a local automotive dealership, or you're running a tech startup, or directing marketing for a massive enterprise, the underlying mechanics of this Nevada Chevy case study apply universally.
The principles are the same everywhere.
We started by looking at a data set where a vendor seemed like a minor player, right? Bringing in roughly 58,000 sessions out of nearly 850,000.
But by prioritizing engagement metrics over raw volume, the data revealed a concentrated stream of hyper-motivated buyers.
Right. A 1-minute and 26-second average engagement time isn't an accident. It is absolute proof of isolated intent.
And that isolated intent translated into massive disproportionate value.
Barely 7% of the traffic was responsible for a fifth of the sales calls, nearly 17% of the CTA interactions, and over 10% of the highly complex digital retail processing events.
They proved that dominating the modern digital landscape isn't about casting the widest net. It's entirely about casting the smartest net.
And they cast that net by recognizing that the fundamental architecture of search has changed. They didn't optimize for human web surfers clicking through pages of blue links.
No, they structured their data for the AI.
They secure their position in the AI overviews, leveraging the implied authority of the machine to instantly remove the friction of trust.
And by dominating the infrastructure of voice search, they captured the mobile, hands-free consumer at the exact moment of highest urgency.
They understood that whoever controls the AI's answer ultimately controls the bottom of the funnel.
It is genuinely a masterclass in adapting to the realities of generative search.
It really is, which leaves us with a rather profound thought to mull over as we wrap up today's deep dive.
I'm curious where you're going with this.
Well, we've seen exactly how effectively this AI-first strategy works for high-friction transactions, like buying a vehicle, right? But as generative search continues to evolve, as it increasingly moves away from providing lists of options and transitions entirely toward providing single definitive answers, how much of our broader digital behavior is going to be quietly shaped by the one or two sources the AI chooses to trust?
Oh, that's a big question.
Right. If we rely on algorithms to do the cognitive heavy lifting of evaluating authority, how many of our daily purchasing decisions are actually our own? And how many are simply the result of a vendor structuring their data slightly better than their competitor?
It's a little unsettling when you put it like that.
And ultimately, what happens to the businesses that fail to adapt? Because in an ecosystem where the AI is the ultimate gatekeeper, if the machine doesn't trust you enough to cite you, well, to the modern consumer, you essentially don't exist at all.
You're just invisible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something to think about the next time you ask your phone to recommend a local business.